Hi friends, this is Angelica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a really special video to share with you. I'm going to be using products from Tailored Expressions, and I have my favorite crafting buddy with me today to help me explain the process of how we put these cards together. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, my name's Vera.
Vera is home sick for the next couple days, so we're taking a break from homework and we decided to get some crafting in. So let me share real quick the products that we're going to be using. I'm going to be using Tailored Expressions Loved Background and the coordinating die. The Loved Background is a red rubber background stamp, and I'm going to white heat emboss it onto watercolor paper. So I prepped the paper for heat embossing. I'm going to stamp the background with Versamark embossing ink, and then I'm using Brutus Monroe alabaster white embossing powder that I poured over the top of the ink. So I used my heat tool to melt the powder, and now I am going to tape it down to a clipboard. I pulled out some Nuvo Shimmer Powders, and I let Vera pick 3 colors. So she went with Cherry Bomb, Blue Blitz, and Solar Flare for her 3 colors. This is where Vera's going to come in and kind of walk you through what she's doing now. So we started with the Blue Blitz powder, and what are you doing?
The blue bit powder, we put it on some paper.
So did you like squeeze the bottle really hard, or did you just tap it lightly?
We tapped it lightly.
And we try to get the colors throughout the one panel, right? I kept kind of showing you where to drop the colors at. Yeah. So we had a little bit of trouble getting some of the powder out because I hadn't used these bottles in a while. So if you do have a bottle that the powder is not coming out, all I did was stick a little pin to push whatever was blocking the nozzle back into the bottle. Okay, so now we have the powder on the paper, and the next step is to what?
So the next step was to spray some water on it.
That's right. Now, you don't want to spray the water too close to the panel because pretty much all you're going to be doing is blowing. The pressure of the water is going to blow the powder off the panel, so you want to be very careful on how you're applying water. And once you like how the pigments look on the paper, then you can just put that aside. We are going to do a second panel. Vera got a bit more heavy-handed with the powder, which is fine. This is just going to be a completely different background. And I should have explained what shimmer powders are. These are just little dry pigment powders that burst with color when you spray water onto them. Vera's going to spray the panel again, and again you want to make sure that you're not spraying this close to the panel. We didn't have any accidents, but the pigment can easily be blown off the panel, and that can make a mess in your work area. So just spray it a little bit higher, and once you like the way it looks, put the panel aside to dry, or you can use your heat tool if you want to speed up the drying. And then I just used a baby wipe once the panels were dry to get whatever pigments were on the white embossed lines. The pigment powders will reactivate with water or anything wet, so just be careful when you're using the baby wipes to clean the pigments up. So now we are going to use the coordinating cutting plate to die cut all of the hearts. So I ran the die through my die cut machine, and now I'm just going to poke out all the little hearts, and I'm going to set them aside because we're going to make a couple of cards with these in just a little bit. But first I want to focus on this die cut background. So I have Vera back on screen with me again, and she's helping me ink up the heart background, the loved background. And I'm stamping it first on my Misty grid paper just so I can see where the panel needs to go. And we're going to stamp that heart background again, and she's a really good helper when it comes to stamping backgrounds, so she made sure to do her best to get a good impression. So with this background, my plan is to glue the die cut background onto it, but I want to give it a little bit of depth first. So I die cut white cardstock with the background die, and I'm going to glue the die cut background onto the white heart background, and I'm going to trim the edges, and then I will glue this onto the stamped background, and just doing the same steps again. I did put the panel under my Misty for about 5 minutes just to make sure that the glue didn't warp the paper in any sort of way while it was drying. I did the same steps with the second colored background, and now I'm going to move on to sentiments, and I'm using the mini strips Valentine sentiment stamp set. So this is again another red rubber stamp, and it has a coordinating die that die cuts all of the sentiments at once. So I'm white heat embossing the sentiments onto black cardstock, and I'm going to use my paper piercer just to pick up any leftover embossing powders before I use my heat tool to melt the powder. And then I'm going to use the coordinating die to die cut the sentiments. This die is super easy to use. You just line up the squares that are on the sides with the squares that are on the panel. And now I have 10 heat embossed sentiments ready to use. So my original plan was to have the colored panel on a white card base, but when I put it together, it looked just a little plain to me. So I thought I would add a background to the card panel. So I'm going to be using a lined background, and I have Vera helping me again stamp that background onto my graph paper so I know how, or I know where to put the card panel in the Misty. So I'm going to stamp several card bases with this lined stamp. I'm just going to put that colored panel real quick on the card base just to make sure I like it, and I absolutely loved it so much more than just the white card base. So I attached the colored panel to the card base, and now I'm adding a small strip of black cardstock onto the back of the sentiment. This is going to give the sentiment just a little bit of height, and I have my 0 center ruler to help me place that sentiment right in the middle of the panel. I'm just going to do the same exact thing to the second panel, add the sentiment, and then we're going to move on to the little hearts. I'm going to add the hearts to a postal frames panel, and I put that frame in my Misty. I arranged the hearts how I wanted them to be, and now I am going to stamp a sentiment from Tailored Expressions Follow Your Heart sentiment stamp set. I know I have enough die cut hearts to be able to make 4 of these panels. So I stamped all 4 panels with the sentiment, and now I'm going to add those hearts. I do have another 0 center ruler, and I'm using my Make Art Station, which this is such a handy tool when you're having to put like die cut letters, or you want all of your die cuts to be in a straight line and even. I always pull this out for those kind of projects. I added the hearts to the panels using thin foam squares and then attached them to the striped card bases. And that's going to finish all of today's cards. So out of 2 card panels that Vera made super colorful for us, I was able to make 6 cards from that. So we have these 4 wonderful cards with the cute little hearts on them, and then these really vibrant heart cards. We did make a couple. We picked a love theme, obviously, since Valentine's Day is right around the corner. These hearts came from this panel, so I love this panel. I think it's I just think it's really fun how bright that pink and yellow is, and then the colors really mix together on this panel, so the background has more of a purple tone to it. So that's all that we have for today. Vera has a few more days off of school yet, so we're definitely going to get a little bit more crafting time in before it's time for her to head back. So if you can, let us know what you think. Drop a comment down below. I will read them to Vera, and that's all that I have. So I want to thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to subscribe before you leave, and we'll be back shortly with another video. So I'll see you then. Bye.